Oh God, it's going to be a fun next year with the election. I got to tell you. But anyway, let's do a quick clip and then let's get out of here. But let's do Dave Ramsey on Social Security. How about that? Does that sound good to
All
you?
right.
All right, and we'll, as usual, play him at 1.25 speed because he's slower than dirt.
I was going to say molasses, but dirt doesn't move at all.
She's with us in Seattle. Hi, Tracy. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Dr. John.
Hey, what's up?
I've got a question for you. My husband and I are having a bit of an arm wrestle about this. In May, I turned 62. In September, my husband turned 65. And in 128 days, he's counting, I retire. So I am so excited. I'm spitting bubbles. What I want to know is, when can we start drawing Social Security? What we're living on now is his pension and my paycheck, which net is about $55.50 a month. And then in August, I'll get my first retirement pension.
Okay.
It'll be gross about $3,100, and then after taxes and my employee contribution for my retiree health and his supplemental insurance will come out of my pension check. So starting like August or September, in September, his net pension is like $2,250. My gross pension is about $3,100. So I'm not sure what the net's going to be on that. So when should we? And we're not drawing anything from his pension or his 401k or other retirement resources we've got.
How much is in your nest egg?
All right.
Hang on.
He says anything, I'm going to tell you what he's going to say.
Paid off.
Hang on 1 second.
His 401k, my deferred cost, savings, etc. We're right between probably 2.9 and 3.1.
Way to go! You've done such a great job. Congratulations.
Okay, so
How much of this did you inherit?
So go ahead. You were going to say he's going to say what?
Oh, he's gonna say to take your Social Security immediately. He hates Social Security, and he will tell them to, as soon as you're eligible to draw it,
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's what he needs to do.
Yeah. So here's the deal. It looks like I'm guessing the husband's already retired. She didn't specify that, but he's already drawing his pension. So that's what I heard, at least. So between her and her husband, his pension $2,250, hers is $3,100, so that's $5,350. 5,350, and that's $64,000 a year. I'm guessing if they have 401ks, she's got to get together. They have 2.9 to 3.1 million, so about 3 million in 401k. So just this is, hang on, 64. I'm just going to do some rough estimates. And then 3 million. And let's assume 6% interest in retirement. They need it. Let's say they start drawing now and they live to their mid 90s. So 30 years. God, they can draw $217,000 a year before they, without bleeding that account out within 30 years. So they could take 18 a month from that if they needed to. And then I'm guessing they'll get them close to the max on Social Security, which is like whatever, 37 or 3,800, but let's just call it 35 just to make it easy. So for both of them, well, because if she takes it now, she's taking it early, she'll probably only get close to 2,800. But if he's maxing it out, so let's say about $7,000 between the two of them, if they took it now. If they wait, they get probably another 1,000. Right. If she waits, what does she got to wait? 5 years? Not quite 5 years. As I could get another plus 1,000. Okay. So right now, just Social Security and their pensions, they've got $12,350 a month, roughly. So $12,000 a month. Okay, the question is, do you need much more than that? I mean, the question is, what is their goal? What do they need every month? What do they want every month? Is probably the better question. What do you want every month? What do you want to live on? Do you want 10K, 20K? I mean, these people have money.
Yeah, quite frankly, it's sort of in some ways in the realm of who cares. I mean, we don't know what their goals are, so we can't really assess that. She's just kind of randomly asking, but unless they have extremely expensive goals, it's kind of,
Right.
dealer's choice. But also in that respect, though, there wouldn't be anything wrong with delaying it and ending up with a bigger check later too, because based on what they've already got going on,
Right.
they're probably okay already. So,
right.
But he'll tell them to take it right away. That's.
Well, so let's say, so combined Social Securities for them is about $84,000 a year right now. If they took it now, I'm estimating, boys and girls, so don't eat my lunch because I'm guessing because I don't have all the information. But about $84,000 a year. So if they needed that for say 30 years, that would be $2.5 million that they'd get in Social Security over 30 years. Okay. Now, the trick to Social Security, I don't know if he'll get into this or not, but the trick is it's a guessing game of how long do you think you're going to live? Honestly, that's what it is. It's an annuity, the way it works. It pays you every month until you die. And then when you die, it stops paying. Right? So if they both live 30 years, right? So they get 2.5 million if they took it now. If she waits 5 years and they get the extra $1,000 a month, so that's what, his plus hers. I mean, they're going to make a little bit more, but not that much. But if they think they're going to die younger, like in their 80s, at their 70s, then it might make more sense to take it now. So, if you have medical problems, or you're from a family that has, most people die in their 70s, it makes sense to go ahead and just take it as soon as possible, because then you're going to get the most out of it. Right? If you think you're going to live longer, then it makes sense to wait and take it later. But that's the gamble you're taking on it. I mean, there's no real great answer to that other than, what do you think your life expectancy is? And then I have clients who are very large people, and their family's all large. And, most of these guys are the average life expectancy. Most of the men in my family die in their late 60s. So it's kind of well, they don't even factor in Social Security. Their goal is, I want to retire at 50. Right. Which makes sense, because it's if you don't think you're going to live to 70, then you have reason to believe that. Right. So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's just it's a goal. What's your goal? And what do you think is going to happen? Right. I mean, he's going to do it from a different angle. Like Lacey was saying, he's going to go, well, you should take it now because it's horrible, and get your money out.
That's exactly what he's going to say. Yeah.
But if you think you're going to live a lot longer, it might make more sense to wait and get the higher amount. But for this couple, they could be withdrawing $15,000 a month until they die and still have a bunch of money left over from their 401ks. Right. So,
well, let's go to them, see what they.
Well, $15,000 plus their $5,000 pension, they'd have $20,000 a month without Social Security. So Social Security is kind of superfluous. It's well, what do you want out of it? Well, how long do you think you're going to live? And then I'll just draw up a chart. And then you pick what you want. I mean, it's basically, it's a buffet at that point. So we'll see what he says.
Just less than a year ago, I inherited about $300,000.
So you were already
Well,
millionaires.
maybe we were already millionaires. We were worth about between 2.6 and 2.7 when my mom passed away.
Yeah. Wow. You've done so well. Congratulations. Very well done.
Thank you.
So the bottom line answer is this. It doesn't matter. Social Security doesn't mean beans to you.
Yep.
You got $3 million.
I agree.
You can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Now, if you want to have a math discussion just for the theory of it and the fun of it, Social Security dies when you die. And it's a negative rate of return. The money you put into Social Security, you will never get all of it out.
That's actually not true. For somebody her age, she's going to get about $1.05 for every dollar she put in, adjusting for inflation. Now, that is true if you're talking to somebody who's our age, right? Or younger. And the reason is because the trust fund will run out, whatever it is, 2045. We haven't been funding it properly. And that's what the big debate is. And that's why Republicans want to cut it, because it's, it's a big expense, right, for the government. And the only reason it's a big expense for the government is because the government borrows our money all the time out of it and has to pay it back. So if you cut Social Security, the government doesn't have to pay all that money back. But then the average American gets screwed because millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of people rely on Social Security to survive. People with disabilities, the elderly. So the negative return thing, yeah, it's true if we don't do something about it. If we do something about it, that won't be the case. So, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot. So to sit there and say that, first off, for her, it's not. She's going to get the same or more than she put in, roughly. Right? For younger people, right now, the projection is you're going to get less. We'll probably get 80 cents on the dollar. People our age. People younger than us, maybe 70, 75. And in fact, people our age right now, if you do nothing about it, we're only going to get about 70 cents on the dollar. So that's what he said is bullshit. It's not the whole truth. He's withholding information.
Right.
So you might as well get all you can get as fast as you can get. So I take it early and often and just throw it into an investment if you don't need it.
You called it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, just add into the mix, my husband's thinking of going back and getting a job. And it's like we don't need him to be working, and here I am on the verge of retiring.
None of this matters. Here's the thing: Social Security, little bitty amount of money, $3 million, a lot of money. Your whole life is governed by the fact that you have the returns on $3 million to live out the rest of your life in style, with incredible generosity and with incredible enjoyment. And
here's the thing: is it's the details. We have a lot of flexibility. I wouldn't say they don't necessarily matter, but we have a lot of flexibility here. So these are kind of paltry issues. The big issue is does your husband want to work?
He might be just thinking about going back to work because he's bored. He might just be bored.
Well, I see that a lot. A lot. I'll have the client, they're 62 or 60, whatever, 67, they'll retire. And then they'll be like, take a few trips and then, or they'll, just take time off for 3 or 4 months. And then they'll be calling me like, oh yeah, I'm volunteering here, or I'm working here, or I got a job here. Because they were sitting at home. I mean, they couldn't handle it. You can only watch The Price is Right so many times. Good Morning America. I mean, anybody?
I'm pretty sure my dad had every episode of Charmed memorized.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you're like, I don't know what to do.
Well, dude, I remember before they had the gout treatments, my dad was laid up with gout for like 3 months. And he watched the entire series of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which was like 9 or 10 seasons.
I was gonna say that was not a short program.
No, and there were like I don't know, there were a ton of shows per season. So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours of television. And he watched it all within like a week or two. And then he's calling me. He's like, go get me some more TV series on DVD.
And you're like, well, what's Dad need to watch?
Yeah, so I'm running around looking for like, well, what would he like? You're calling him on the phone. Okay, I'm at the store. This is what they got. How do you feel about Friends?
How do you feel about watching every episode of The Golden Girls? I'm into it, but his dad, don't know.
No, but after his gout went down, went away, right? Doesn't ever really go away, but when it went down, and he could function again, man. He didn't watch TV for probably like 2 weeks because he was so freaking sick of it. I mean, I could see it. So the thing here to understand is with Social Security, it's a life expectancy game. It's just like with annuity, right? You gotta, if I feel like I'm gonna live a lot longer and I want to get the most out of Social Security, then I need to wait longer, right? If I want to get the most out of Social Security and I feel like I'm going to die younger, then I want to take it as soon as possible, right? And start piling up money. With most people, though, that's not the objective, which is what I think is so funny about this. The objective usually is, I want to retire because A, I don't want to work anymore. B, I have a medical issue and can't really work anymore. Or C, I'm just so stressed it's causing problems, and I want to switch to a lower paying job. That happens all the freaking time to people in their 60s. They just can't handle the stress of their job anymore because they're old, and I don't blame them. If you spend 20 years or your 30 years of your life in a stressful job, like you're a lawyer or a doctor or, something like that, not like financial planning, which is, there is some stress to it, but it's not nearly that level, right? But it's like, man, I mean, I have clients who are lawyers that are just like, shit, I don't care, man. I'll go mow lawns, drive a bus. I just got to get out of this job. It's going to kill me. I'm going to have a heart attack by the time I'm 63, So that's a lot of it. With most people, it's when do you want to retire? That's the question. And that's when we start talking about Social Security. Her husband's already retired, talked about maybe going back to work, probably because he's freaking bored. Right. And I hate to say this too, sometimes marriages only survive because you guys don't see each other for most of the day.
I'm not going to name the friend because her marriage is fine and we want to keep it that way, but I have a friend who avoided retiring for years because she wasn't sure that it was a good idea for her and her husband both to be home.
Yeah. That's the...
It's like, I mean, I like my husband, but I don't know if I think we both need to be there all the time.
Right.
She finally did retiring. I think they're okay so far,
Right. It's like...
We're working out the hobbies.
Yeah, it's the old... Yeah, I love my wife for about 45 minutes in the morning and about 3 or 4 hours in the evening and maybe 2 weeks out of the year for vacation. But that's about all I can handle. Oh, man. Anyways, so... I mean, he's... Whoa. Are you in Sirenville? All right. We'll cut that out. I'll let that pass. So anyway, it's just one of those things where it's like, look, it's kind of... The question really is what do you want to do with the Social Security? How much do you need? Then we can talk about it. But right now, it's not even a question of do you need it? It's a question of what do you want out of it? and what can we get? That's it. I mean, these people have so much money. We have so much flexibility. You have the option. But you know what I think is really funny about this is when he's talking to somebody who's lower income, it's never, well, it doesn't matter, do what you want. It's you're a loser. You have to do X, Y, Z. When he's talking to a rich person, it's like, oh, well, good for you. Congratulations. Aren't you successful and wonderful and great? And it doesn't matter. Just do whatever you want. It's like,
just to be clear, even if they did not have a lot of money, he's inclined to tell them to take it right away.
oh yeah, because that's just because he hates the program. Yeah, but this is all.
Right.
This is all. His whole thing is structured on his preconceived biases, not on what the client wants. That's what I'm trying to illustrate.
Sure.
His bias that if you're rich, you're already smart and capable and a good person. Social Security's bad because anything that that's socialist that helps out the working class is bad. He hates all that.
If you never got a Social Security check ever, it wouldn't affect this discussion. If you get one, it doesn't affect this discussion. It's a mathematical discussion is all it is. It's just like a little math riddle is all it is. But it really does not affect your life because of how great a job you've done building wealth. You did what you're supposed to do. You didn't depend on social insecurity. Thank God it's not 50% of your income or 70% of your income. It's 1% or less than 1% of your income. Because your income should be $300,000-$400,000 a year off of these returns on these investments.
Whoa. Whoa. That's not what I came up with.
$300,000 a year. And we're talking about
200 is what they could do.
Social Security's going to be nothing. It's nothing. So
what did he say? What did he say there?
Social Security's going to be nothing. It's nothing. So it's a freaking joke, which is what it's always been. And by the way, a lot of
okay, that's bullshit. So here's the deal. Just to close this out. So right now, the Social Security Trust Fund is what they're talking about. Okay. What happened is in the 80s, the baby boomers, because there was just a ton of them, and they weren't having as many kids, there weren't going to be as many people to pay into the program to cover them when they got older. Now, prior to that, the way Social Security worked is you work, you pay your Social Security tax, right? Your employer takes it out every month, or if you're an employer, you pay it, right? It goes into the Social Security fund, and then the Social Security fund takes that money and pays it out to the Social Security recipients. And the fund usually didn't have money left over to speak of. It was pretty balanced out. If it had some money, it just rolled over back into the fund. Well, what happened in the 80s, they realized, well, the baby boomers aren't going to have that problem where there's not going to be enough money coming in from the younger generation, right? They were wrong about that because our productivity was 3 times higher than our parents, which they couldn't predict, right? But what ended up happening was they said, okay, we're going to raise Social Security tax. They did this in the early 80s under Reagan. We're going to raise Social Security, and we're going to create a trust fund and invest that money, right? Which is what they did. And they created the trust fund, and the trust fund was then supposed to pay out the baby boomers, right? So the trust fund is just a surplus of cash that the baby boomers put in order to cover their Social Security, which is what it's doing now. And it should run out at about, I think it was 2045 or something like that. 2035, 45, something like that. Doesn't really matter. But this is the lie that they tell you. The trust fund runs out and Social Security will be nothing. Well, what they're missing is no, it won't, because Social Security is funded by you paying taxes. So there's always money coming into Social Security. So like I was saying earlier, people in their 40s right now, when you retire, and full retirement for you is 67 because they upped the age.
So it's not like a bathtub that's draining without a running faucet.
No, it's a bathtub that's already mostly full and it has a running faucet. Yeah, that's a great example. But that's the thing is when you retire, if you're 40 now and you retire at 67, right, the trust fund will be gone, but you can expect that you're still going to get about 70% of what your benefit should have been, right? Because there would still be money coming in to cover at least that much. Right? So the problem is to sit there and go, well, it's going to be nothing, or it's a failed program, it doesn't work. It's one of the most popular programs in the country. It keeps tens of millions of people out of poverty. Elderly people, disabled people, people who can't work. That's what it's for. So we don't have to deal with that because that would cause an economic problem if you had all these people on the street. Right? Because that's why they started in the first place. Because they used to have elderly people just dying on the street, living in abandoned buildings. They called them death houses back in the 30s. That's why they started Social Security. Because it used to be you didn't have anything like that. So this whole thing is, he's just being ridiculous. It's not going to run out. If we fix it, it will cover 100%, but we have to fix it and how we tax it. And that means, I think the simple answer to that is removing the cap so that rich people have to pay Social Security above $250,000.
Right.
Then that wouldn't be a problem anymore. And then that would solve it. And then the other issue is that, does it matter when you take it? Well, yeah, depending on what your goals are. And for her to sit there and say, well, hey, it doesn't really matter if you take it or don't. $84,000 a year doesn't matter. It's kind of a stupid thing to say, even to a millionaire.
Honestly, though, it doesn't matter, I think, is more about the fact that she doesn't particularly need it, so
No.
she can kind of just do whatever. I think that's more the point, honestly.
No, I know, but it's you're dismissing that amount of money. He is not even factoring in how much money it is. Because, okay, well, you don't...
Right. If he factored in how much money it is, then the program looks less stupid.
Right.
And all of his argument is built upon a foundation that says this program's stupid. So if he goes and says how much money they're going to be getting in Social Security, that won't sound stupid to me.
Right. But you could
it won't sound stupid to most people.
But you could sit there and say, well, you don't really need it. So if you wanted to, you could take that $84,000 a year and you could give it to charity. I don't, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do with it if you don't need it, right? But if you want it, that's what it is.
It supports his argument better to omit what it is and tell her to be generous because she's done a really good job, because all of his stuff goes back to personal responsibility,
right?
Which absolutely is a factor, but he wants to create it as the only factor, and he doesn't want any systems,
right,
good or bad, to get to factor in.
Right. So, anyway, good stuff. I don't necessarily disagree with the assessment on the Social Security. She can kind of take it whenever, depending on her goals, but I would have asked a lot more questions. And then I would have given her, well, based on your goals is what I do.
But you would have an answer that would vary
based
on those goals. He doesn't have to ask any questions because he's going to give one canned answer when it comes to Social Security. Therefore, it doesn't make any damn difference in the world.
Right.
Who's in front of them and what their goals are.
Well, it brings me to the question of this is, why even call into the show? Just call Lacey. Lacey will tell you what his answer is.
You know what? That would be fun. Maybe people should call in and ask me what Dave Ramsey would tell them to do, and then you should tell them what they should really do.
Right? Yeah, that'll be our new thing. Call Lacey and ask Lacey what Dave Ramsey would say. You'll have an easier time.
You can get them better advice.
There you go. Anyway, that's our show for today. Thanks for
Is that where I'd have to put a disclaimer that would say all opinions are not my own. They
Or
are
Dave Ramsey's. Yeah, we'll put it on the screen.
because I would not want everyone to think they were my opinions.
Yeah, we'll put it as a buyer beware.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Lacey. Good work.